Easttown Mall had opened again in full force. Everything was back open and restored to its original glory. The place was elegant and filled with people. All the stores were open and packed, and I wandered through. I went to an old store that I had once loved as a child. This one was a spin-off of a country restaurant, and it was beautiful inside. It was golden and full of light and life. As a kid, I loved looking at their toy section, and I glanced over it now through the eyes of myself as a child. They had other things too, like antique electronics stores that I looked at, as well as new electronic stores with the latest and greatest in technology. They had an arcade full of new equipment that I looked in. It was great. All the things were big, and they even had a couple small rides. They had a smaller retro arcade in the lower levels that I looked through. It was interesting to see all the old equipment there, and it was slightly less populated than the rest of the mall. However, they both made me yearn for my passion, the infinite arcade. So I headed towards the part of the mall where my old theater was. The mall, as it was then, had two sides: a restored side, living in glory, filled with people, and a slightly less populated side, low-hanging ceilings, cheap stores, and was in a tiny bit of disarray. This side was where the old theater was, far away from the new theater that I had gone to before. I looked inside and found a couple old arcade machines. They were turned off in a corner, as they had been in the new theater. But I followed them, and behind them there was the door to the infinite arcade. Down the first set of stairs, narrow and dark, I found the first big room. It was full of electronic equipment. I played skis balls and claw machines, not winning much and not really caring, as there was no one at the prize table. Even on this first floor, some of the arcades were in disrepair. There was dust on everything, and it was clear that I was the only one that had been there for a while. But down I still persisted. There was a small steps in the middle of the room that led down to a lower level that was about the same as the first. But if you looked around there, you would find another staircase leading under both of them that led deeper into the arcade. This room was full of completely abandoned and disrepaired equipment, and under that another floor that was much the same. I went down again, the floor getting darker, but I had regretted never seeing how far the arcade went. So I went down again. This floor was completely dark. The arcade machines in there stood out like aliens, their odd shapes casting funny shadows in the dark, and I felt very uncomfortable and didn't stay long. In a panic, I almost didn't find the staircase, but the slight amount of light that it emitted was like a beacon in the dark room. I left the lower levels of the arcade quick, and even in the first level, I didn't feel entirely easy, wondering what was below lurking in the dark.